أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم وفقنا وسائر المشتغلين للعلم والعمل الصالح بحق محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. The Imam Ali alayhi salam said, the obstacles of faith are the bane of glory. The obstacles of faith are the bane of glory. قال الإمام علي عليه السلام: آفة المجد عوائق القضاء. آفة المجد عوائق القضاء. Yes, with Islamic laws we reach to issue number 332, and it is said right here, it is haram to touch the script of the Holy Quran with any part of one's body without performing wudu. However, there is no harm in touching the translation of the Holy Quran in any language without wudu. Now, the transcript of the Holy Quran, it is haram to touch it without being on tahara, without being on wudu. Without being on wudu, it is haram to touch the transcript of the Quran. While if this transcript, concentrate, we are talking about the transcript, the words of the Quran. If this transcript is translated into English, into French, into Germany, can we touch it? Yes, it doesn't matter. Without tahara, can we touch it without tahara? Yes, we can touch it without tahara. It doesn't matter. The problem is where that it is haram. It is a verdict. It is haram to touch the script of the Quran without being on tahara. Yes. Issue number 300. From this, what we can see, if you remember the 1000 IQDs, Alif Dinar al-Iraqi, the old one, it has what? It has the Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad, the verse of Ikhlas, the verse of Tawheed. It is haram if you are not on tahara to touch it. It is haram. Have you got this? It's very important. Issue number 324. It is not obligatory to prevent a child or an insane person from touching the script of the Holy Quran. However, if their touching the Holy Quran violates its sanctity, they should be prevented from touching it. The child or insane person, if they touched the script of the Quran, is it obligatory on us to prevent them? No, it is not obligatory on us to prevent them. It is not, I'm saying it is not obligatory to prevent them from touching what? From touching the script of the Quran. But if their touch will violate the sanctity of the Quran itself, in this case, we have to what? We have to prevent them. In this case, we have to prevent them from touching the script of the Quran. Have you got this? It is not obligatory to prevent a child or an insane person from touching the script of the Holy Quran. However, if their touching the Holy Quran violates its sanctity, they should be prevented from touching it. If in case their touching to the Quran will violate its sanctity, in this in this case, it is obligatory on us to what? To prevent them from touching the Quran, the script of the Quran. Issue number 328. It is haram as an obligatory precaution to touch the name of Allah or His special attributes without the name of Allah, and one of His attributes, just like Al-Hakim, Al-Alim, Al-Qadi, Al-Jabbar, ila akhirih. We cannot touch it without what? Without being on tahara. In such a case, this situation will be haram. This is a vertical. This is fatwa. It is haram. It is written on the $100 bill. On the $100 bill, in God we trust. In God we trust. Even this, we cannot touch it without tahara. Even this, we cannot touch it without tahara. It is haram. Look, it is haram as an obligatory precaution to touch the name of, it is an obligatory, not a vertical. It is an obligatory precaution to touch the name of Allah or His special attributes without wudu, in whichever language they may have been written. In Arabic, in French, in Persian, in whatever language. And it is also better not to touch without wudu. It is also better not to touch without wudu. The names of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his progeny of Islam, the holy Imams, the 12 Immaculate Imams, and also Fatima al-Zahra, definitely there is no doubt, and Janab Fatima al-Zahra, peace be upon them. It is an obligatory precaution not to touch them without tahara. Sometimes the female, they have what? Necklace. They have necklace. In this necklace, maybe it's written the name of the Prophet, the name of Ameer al-Mu'mineen, the name of Fatima al-Zahra, the name of one of the Immaculate Imams. It doesn't matter. But to touch it by your body, maybe by your fingers, by any part of your body without being on tahara, this is haram. As an obligatory precaution, this is haram. Like yes, this is stone on my ring. This is stone on my ring. It has the name of Allah, or it has the name or the one of the attributes of the Prophet or Allah Himself, or the name of the Immaculate Imams. It is not allowed to touch it without being on tahara. Without being on tahara. Issue number 326. If a person performs wudu or ghusl before the time for a prayer, he performs wudu or ghusl, ghusl wajib, before the time of prayer, in order to be in a state of purity, they will be deemed valid. They refers to what? They refers to the wudu or ghusl. They refers to the wudu or ghusl. This wudu or this ghusl is valid. And even if he performs wudu near the time of salah with the need of preparing himself for salah, there is no objection. Nurun ala nur. If he has an old ablution and then performs a new ablution, it doesn't matter. As I said, نور على نور، يعني وضوء فوق وضوء، طهارة فوق طهارة، نور على نور. Issue number 327. If a person believes that the time for prayer has set in his belief that the time of salah is just set in, and makes the niyyah of wajib wudu, I perform this wudu for what? For Salatul Zuhur, for example. And then realizes after performing the wudu, that the time for the prayer has not set in. Now, his wudu is in order or it is invalid wudu. The hukum will be his wudu is in order. His wudu is in order. Doesn't matter. For example, now I realize that this is the time of Salat al-Maghrib is just set in. And then I perform my wudu for what? For Salat al-Maghrib. And then I discovered that Salat al-Maghrib, it's still for 1 hour, 2 hours, maybe half an hour. Now, this wudu, this ablution that I performed, is it valid or it is invalid? It is valid. It is valid. Issue number 328. Wudu is mustahab for the following purposes. Now we have some purposes. Wudu is mustahab. When we say it is mustahab, definitely it is a good act, and it will have the good things in return to the person himself. It will have the good thing in return to himself. For example, not to see the nightmares at night, not to wake up, to be rich, exactly, not to need anybody for money, exactly, to be rich. I has this by myself. I did it by myself. I be on tahara all the time, even when I want to sleep or when I get out from the WC, and I never need anybody to give me some money. Yeah. Once I needed money, but not because I am in need of money. I borrow money in order to let the other people not to envy me. That's it. Not to have another thing else. All right? Yeah. Issue number 328. Wudu is mustahab for the following purposes. Wudu is mustahab, not obligatory. Salat al-Mayt. You know Salat al-Mayt, it is not a prayer. It is not a prayer. Actually, it is not a prayer. And we can perform our Salat al-Mayyit without what? Without tahara. Without tahara. Alright? Because Salat al-Mayyit, it is not real salah. It is a kind of supplications. So it is mustahab to perform wudu for Salat al-Mayyit. It is mustahab to perform wudu for entering a masjid. And also it is mustahab to perform wudu entering the shrines of holy prophets and imams, immaculate imams alayhim salam, for reading, and also mustahab performing ablution for reading, writing or touching the margin or border of the Holy Quran, for keeping it with oneself. You see, here, I have this Quran, all right? It is mustahab that I will be on tahara and to make ablution if I touch what? I touch the margin. You know the margin right here? Yes. Not the script itself. The margin, maybe the line right here. This is the margin. It is mustahab to have what? To have ablution to touch it. Not obligatory. It is mustahab. And yes, or for keeping it with oneself. Before going, also it is mustahab to make ablution before going to bed for sleep. It is also mustahab that a person already in wudu, should perform a fresh wudu. Also, if he is on wudu and he wants to perform another wudu, it is mustahab also. As I told you, nurun ala nur. And also it is mustahab to have a fresh wudu for every salah. If he has performed wudu for any one of the above purposes, for the recommended purposes, if I have performed wudu, for example, to sleep, I performed wudu to get out of the latrine, all right? Now, this wudu, is it valid to do the other acts which it has obligatory being on tahara? If he has performed wudu for any of the above purposes, he can commit all acts which require wudu. For example, he can even pray with that wudu. Because some of the ulama, may Allah bless the souls of the late ones, they did not accept with this. They said, okay, if you have ablution for reciting Quran and you want to pray, in this case, you have to what? You have to go and to perform another ablution with the niyyah, with the intention of performing this salah. How about the last ablution? He said that ablution was invalid. Definitely he has his proof, he has his evidence. But according to Sayyid Sistani, all the wudu, for all intention, it will work with all what? With all acts which requires wudu. Things which invalidate ablution. Please, these things are very important. Very important. Because some people, they asked me, I was on ablution, I was on tahara. Now I cut myself and it is bleeding. And my body or my skin is bleeding, my finger is bleeding. Did I invalidate my wudu or not? I'm not going to answer. Definitely not. Definitely not. Let's go and read. Wudu becomes void on account of the following 7 things. No more, no less. 7 things. Number 1, passing of urine. This invalidate wudu. Excretion, invalidate wudu. 3, passing wind from the rear. Passing wind from the rear. Because sometimes passing wind not from the rear. 4, asleep. Any kind of sleep? No. Deep enough to restrict sight and hearing. Sleep, that this person, if he sleeps and he cannot hear what's going on around him. In this case, if he was on tahara before sleeping, when he woke up, he needs to renew his tahara. He needs a new or a fresh ablution. Because the old ablution is what? Is invalid, is void. Asleep, deep enough to restrict. Now, if I am now on tahara and I took a light nap like this, but I can hear what's going on around me. Somebody is turning the page right here, and somebody is talking on behind there. Now, when I open my eyes, do I need a new tahara? No, I don't. No, I don't. Only deep sleep. However, if the eyes do not see anything, but the ears can hear, wudu does not become void. Number 6, things on account of which a person loses his sensibility. يغمى عليه, يفقد الوعي. Like insanity. He was on tahara, and while he is on tahara now, he lost his mind, he becomes insane, or intoxication, he drinks some alcohol or wine, he becomes intoxicated, or unconsciousness, فقد الوعي, all these cases, he has lost his purity. Number 6, istihada, which will be dealt with later. Istihada, we have taken istihada and we explain the rules of istihada. Also, with istihada, it invalidates what? It invalidates tahara. And last one, janaba. Janaba and hayd, even if they requires ghusl only, even they requires ghusl only, but what they invalidate tahara. If you are on tahara and now you became on janaba state, this invalidate what? This invalidate the previous tahara. And you need what? Even you need a ghusl. I know. You need a ghusl. Doesn't matter. But it is invalidate tahara or not. It invalidates tahara. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about ghusl or ablution. I'm talking about the things or the acts which invalidate tahara. You understand these 7 acts which invalidate tahara? Huh? So is bleeding one of them? If somebody touch you while you are performing ablution, is one of them? Now, jabira wudu, how to perform ablution while you have a jabira or a splint. The splint with which a wound or fractured. Sometimes we have a wound, a cut, or sometimes we have what? A fracture, broken bone. A fractured bone is bandaged. This is the jabira. This is jabira. We bandage what? I think the people who work with medicine or hospitals, they know this. And the rest, they know it. It's not so ambiguous thing. Is bandaged or held tight, and the medication applied to a wound, etc., is called jabir. This is the definition of jabir. Now, issue number 330, if there is a wound or sore, you know what's the meaning of wound? Jarh, cut, or sore, qarh, tihab, qarh, yes, different. Or fractured bone, adum maksur, in the part on which wudu is performed. On the part of which wudu is performed. Where wudu is performed? Face, 2 hands, the upper part of your head, and the upper part of your feet. Maybe if they are bandaged. If there is a wound or sore or a fractured bone in the parts on which wudu is performed, and if it is not bandaged, then one should perform wudu on the usual manner. If the use of water is not harmful. If he or she has a broken bone, a sore, a wound, and if using water is not affected to them, in this case, he or she should perform wudu, normal wudu, using water. if there is no affection, if there is no harmful. Is this understood? Good. If there is an bandage, issue number 331, if there is an unbandaged wound, sore, or broken bone in one's face or hands, and if the use of water is harmful for it. Now the wound or the fractured bone or the sore, if we use water, it will be harmful for it. Maybe it will make it a cure for a long time. It will affect it. Now, what shall we do? And if the use of water is harmful for it, one should wash the parts adjoining the wound. Should wash what? The parts adjoining. For example, the wound is right here. I should wash those parts adjoining to the wound from above downwards. All right? In the usual manner of wudu, and it is better to pass a wet hand on it. It is better when I wash the places adjoining to the wound, and then my fingers or my hand is what? Is wet, just to pass it on the wound. Just to pass it. Not to wipe it. Just to pass it. Okay? On the wound. A wet hand on it. If it is not harmful to do so. Therefore, he should place a tahir piece of cloth. If he cannot do that, it's better to put a tahir cloth, just like a tahir cotton, on this wound or this scar, on this wound or this sore or fractured bone in this area. And in this time, not fractured bone exactly, but the wound or the sore, he should place a tahir piece of cloth on it and pass a wet hand over that cloth. But in the case of a fractured tayammum, must be performed. If there is what? If there is a fracture, broken bone. I cannot use what? To wipe the skin. Even the skin doesn't have what? It doesn't have a wound or a sore. But the bone, inside the bone is broken. It is not allowed to do what? It is not allowed to wipe the skin. No. In this case, I have to make tayammum. This is a verdict. I have to make tayammum. Look. But in the case of a fracture, tayammum must be performed. Have you got this? This is a verdict. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum wal an aduwahum.